Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. My name is Khalid Muhammad Ariff from Sekitar Synergies near Mohd. Again, I'm here with you in this video. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, all subscribers, viewers of this, and all my videos actually. I am obliged. And on this day of the 17th of Rabi'ul Awal 1442, today is the 3rd of November 2020, and we are here. I'm with you right now in this video to talk about a process which is cleaning using solvent. So just to make this title short, I use solvent cleaning. It's not cleaning the solvent, but cleaning utensils and tools, in this case printing tools from printing industry, that they use solvent like methyl acetate or thinner, and also xylene. And by doing that, while looking at solvent cleaning, we'll take a look at the interests of safety, health, and environment vis-a-vis an integrated management system comprising of safety, health, and environment management system, and to look at especially how the environmental management system is interested in by far, by virtue of the definition of environmental management system and environmental aspects as already discussed and illustrated in the first video called How She Decode ISO 14001 2015. I think that's the title of the first video before all this. Okay, and for Muslims, uh, relatives, please do not watch this video when you are in the mosque attending Friday prayers, khutbah, or attending any religious events and lessons where scholars is preaching. Please turn off this video. Pay attention to the religious teachings. Okay, now let's take a look. This is our friend who is equipped with, well, I should say, enough PPE supplied to him by the company. He is washing equipments, tools, from a printing machine. Whenever the machine has got to change color, usually the entire set of related apparatus from the machine has got to be pulled out and cleaned up, including printing rollers, photographic plates, the trays, the hoses, valves, pumps has got to be cleaned up, and even entirely before they run a new color through the machine. So he is washing, cleaning, all right, these apparatus in a big tank like that, which is filled up with solvent. There are a few tanks. One is the main cleaning tank. Second is the rinsing with the cleaner solvents, and before it is being washed with water and air dried. So this process right now is the first cleaning tank, or first solvent cleaning tank. He dips all these equipments inside it and manually clean it to ensure not even a dirt is remained. So his job is crucial, because any dirt or leftovers from incomplete cleaning would actually contaminate the next round of printing using a different color. Okay, solvent is involved in this activity. So let's take one simple environmental aspect of our concern, which is spent solvent. Let's discuss this and see how does it affect safety. All right, let's take a look. Now, spent solvent is in this tank, okay, basin you can call it. And how does it affect safety? Look, let's bring it down here and discuss about safety. As we know that I am not the safety expert. You are the SHO or the safety manager. You know much, much, much more than I do. Okay. My area of study and work, and as a consultant, as an auditor and trainer, are all about environmental management. Nonetheless, through my line of duty, my work, and my profession, I meet friends who are experts in safety and health. So I learn from them. As far as safety is concerned, apparently there is a potential hazard. What? The solvent, chemicals itself, the methyl acetate, and they also use xylene for the different bath, and that is a potential hazard. Why is it a potential hazard? Let's take a look. It is a potential hazard because it has associated potential risk to human, such as it may cause some respiratory issues. This is just my layman term. You in safety and health has better term to use, probably pulmonary circulation disorder or nerve disorder, or probably intoxication, anoxia, asphyxiation, you name it. You know better than I do. Now, I'm not qualified to use those terms without really knowing it. So this is one of the potential risks associated to the potential hazard. And once this worker is having health problem, he is posing a potential effect to the environment. In other words, he could cause an environmental impact, because if he is not in good health and continue to work, he might collapse or might have injury, and that has got to summon for medical attention, bringing all the medical tools, medical aids, which might be used to rescue him, dress him, if he's wounded, etc., and eventually generate what we call first aid waste. And in the context of environmental law, it can be classified as medical waste, which is a scheduled waste. And that is an impact to the environment, as these items are being sent to maybe medical incineration plants, burn it, and causing the emission of air pollutants through the stack of all those medical incinerators. That's it. On the other way around, let's bring the solvent through here as an environmental aspect. Let's take a look. How will it impact? How would it have an effect to health? What sort of potential risk to health? There you are. The solvent can cause injury, or even can cause some intoxication. All right. And yeah, of course, you can have material loss as well, spillage, etc. You can a person, and it can cause some health problem, and that would pose problem to safety as well. This is better explained by health safety experts, not me, but I'm trying to satisfy myself at the same time, not to do wrong, okay? And that health effect would have caused safety issues due to perhaps he might fall or might accidentally cause spark and some explosion happens, perhaps fire, because it's not working in a proper manner as stipulated in the SOP for health and safety procedure. And that fire and explosions or whatever can be an impact to the environment because it really releases associated environmental aspects in terms of fumes, fire, smoke, therefore causing environmental impact or environmental pollution. That's one link from my naive perspective about safety and health. Now let's take a look at the environmental management. So what is environmental management system? It is about managing environmental aspects. How? By fulfilling compliance obligation and by addressing risk and opportunity, and its ultimate aim is so that it doesn't pose this problem, doesn't cause environmental impact. So that is the main ultimate objective of an environmental management system. So we have one example over here, which is spent solvent. All right, this is our concern, spent solvent, the first example that we have. Remember, spent solvent is a contaminated solvent. It is at this for this example, it is contaminated with printing ink. Remember, they clean the rollers, photographic plates, hoses, and these are all the residues of ink is in this bath now, contaminated, and a few other baths after that. So spent solvent. Look, let me link with environmental management system. Environmental management system for spent solvent is to manage spent solvent by fulfilling compliance obligation related to spent solvent by addressing risk and opportunities related to spent solvent and its activity to prevent the occurrence of environmental impact. So that's the management of spent solvent. How to do it? SOP. So we got to develop procedure to manage spent solvent. The entire thing is environmental management system. Now, spent solvent, as we know, is an output from this particular cleaning process. This spent solvent shall be disposed of as output. So it is an output aspect. Therefore, how do we determine its environmental impact is by looking at its life cycle. The life cycle perspective of solvent, whereby as output we take a look at the downstream of its life cycle perspective, meaning what happens to this dirty solvent. Will it be sold off to recyclers? Would it be channeled to the effluent treatment system for treatment? Or would it be disposed of in the drain or disposed of to some contractors who will dispose them to a prescribed premise where they have got incineration system and secure landfill? And if you look at that, possibilities. If it is disposed of to perhaps an incineration plant, it will be burnt, and that combustion would cause the emission of air pollutants, which would lead to air pollution. If it's being stored and there are some, during transit, there are some vapor pressure that is emitted out from this spent solvent. That vapor pressure in the form of volatile organic compounds would be air pollutants or air impurities, and therefore will interact with the environment and cause air pollution. And if it is sent to IETS or industrial effluent treatment plant, it will be causing, it will interact with the IETS treatment mechanism. It will interact with the coagulant, flocculant, it will interact, and it is still having some form of volatility causing air pollution as well, but it might be broken down into smaller elements and thus be released out from the industrial effluent treatment system with a limited concentration of chemical oxygen demand. Thus, at certain flow rate will contribute to the discharge into inland water system and potentially cause water pollution. That's how the interaction goes about. And from the IETS, the bulk of the compounds of the solvent, which is hydrocarbon actually, or volatile organics, is embedded in sludge and will be dewatered and be filtered in a way, and that will be sent to perhaps a secure landfill, and eventually would cause a situation which is potentially soil contamination of the secure landfill soil ecosystem. Interact. Okay, so that is spent solvent, and therefore we have to manage spent solvent to ensure a minimum or eliminate any potential impact to the environment. That is why for me it's better to have spent solvent to be recycled, to clean it, so you get a regenerated solvent, which is of course weaker in property, and there are some residues from the what I call recycling of solvent. For me, reuse it. I believe in zero waste. Remember, my slogan is waste doesn't exist. Okay, that's about spent solvent. Let's talk about solvent now. We are referring to the fresh brother of solvent. New solvent just came out from a petrochemical plants, from crude oil. So that is a version of what? Life cycle perspective, okay? And fresh solvent comes into this bath as what? Input, okay? And as input, this solvent, we will look at its life cycle perspective upstream, meaning where does it come from? It comes from petrochemical plants or refinery, and when there is more demand for fresh solvent, what does it mean? It will interact. The acquisition of fresh solvent would would involve acquisition of more crude oil, more drilling, more natural resources is being excavated, is being drilled and treated and filtered. So more requirement for natural resources, and thereby that interaction with natural resources would cause the amount of natural resources to be less and less as demand is higher. The extraction of natural resources supersede that of its regeneration or reformation. I do not know the formation of fossil fuel, how long it take, but literature has convinced me that it takes a very, very long time. So the rate that we are going now, we are extracting, the rate of extraction of natural resources is greater, far greater than the rate it is literally replenished. Therefore, the environmental impact is resource depletion. Also, it has caused substantial amount of geological damage because of that drilling work and extraction work, and chemical intoxication as well inside the geological structure. So the more demand for fresh solvent, the more demand for fossil fuel, the higher rate of resource depletion, and the higher rate of damage done to our bedrock geological structure. Okay, that's about it. So our concern in environmental management system is how to use solvent, how to manage solvent by thinking of how to use solvent, methodology of usage, principle of hazardous waste minimization takes place to ensure that the resource depletion is not elevated, at least from our part. Okay, that's the best we could do. Otherwise, we have to find alternative materials for the use of salt. That is the outcome of environmental management system, and we could say that would be the intended outcome of the entire management of these solvents. Okay, let's take a look at another environmental aspect, which is fresh ink. So fresh ink, this company might be buying ink which is readily formulated, but I think most printing company, they have got their own ink formulation room where they've got color expert eyes to come up with the colors which is suitable or match what the clients has demanded. And ink is made from petrochemical pigment. You have got binders. Okay, there are some minerals involved as well. So, and fresh ink, as far as environmental management is concerned, as far as environmental aspect is concerned, fresh ink is an input aspect. Therefore, as you know already by now, we got to look at the upstream from its life cycle perspective to determine what would be the probable impact to the environment. Upstream meaning its origin. There you are, same origin, which is natural resources. Therefore, the more demand for fresh ink, the higher rate of resource depletion, and the more damage is our bedrock geological structure, and the less stable would be our plate tectonics. For that reason, the ISO 14001 version 2015 included this for us to really take into consideration. They use the word address risk and opportunities, not just knowing about it. We have got to identify, know about it, study about it, and take a look. What are the risks associated to this particular aspect and take action on it? Evasive action, I'm not sure, but it's more of management action to ensure what? If the risk is about legal liability, then we are talking about compliance, fulfill compliance, in this case legal compliance, environmental law, permit, terms and conditions, approvals, purchase orders, agreements, etc. Compliance obligation. All right, and another risk associated to this particular spent solvent, well, let's talk, yeah, it's actually about spent solvent, is its toxic constituent. There could be lead, creoate as part of the pigment in ink, binders, hardeners that make it fast dry, So to look into the toxic constituent and what is the risk. If there is toxic constituent, then we need to know about it, how to get to know about it. So in the management of this risk associated to spent solvent, it is our obligation to send the spent solvent sample to the lab to know its composition, meaning we got to do compositional analysis. We got to know its physical and chemical properties. Perhaps we got to know also about its level of toxicity. That is a management function. That is how we manage spent solvent, is to get to know its properties. It's a must. Otherwise, we do not know how to manage that spent solvent. We just say it's spent solvent. We do not know the level of toxicity. And there's another risk associated to it, which is spillage. Therefore, we have to run a management system that cover all this legal liability, toxic constituent, and also spillage, to say the least. So our SOP in the management of this spent solvent has got to include these items or information related to risk. And at the same time, we got to look, having done this, having managed this risk, we have got to look for opportunity that may arise from the generation of spent solvent. What can we do? Do we have an opportunity that benefit environment? But if you ask me, which benefit businesses, normally if you are able to convince the top management who are accounts graduate, chartered accountant, you don't want to speak to them about eutrophication, about global warming. They're not interested. These people are trained to make money from money, and they are interested to get prosperity out of the environment. It is our job as environmental manager to translate environmental management in terms of opportunity. And when we talk to most stakeholders or shareholders of companies who have done money for the company, they would normally ask ROI. If I dump that much money for your environmental management system, what is the ROI, return of investment? Don't tell them zero. It is not zero. If you are able to have environmental management, we could look for alternative use. Or we could buy ourselves a different, I didn't write this opportunity. What do we do? On-site solvent recovery machine, small ones, enough for our scale. We can reuse the solvent, save money for the company. And we could improve a cleaning technique, perhaps not by using solvents, but by using extract of pineapples. Maybe there's a lot of pineapples in this country, at least in Malaysia. We are tropical. And fruits extract. There's a lot of fruit waste, okay, from fruits canning factory. And also we might be using the cleaning technique using different bath For color, blue color, we might be using a solvent bath only dedicated for blue, for black, for red, for yellow dedicated. So we would be able to prolong the lifespan of the solvent bath, and to have the strength of the solvent is still there until we can have some form of sedimentation tank associated to it, so that all the dirt gets sedimented down, and we can have a cleaner portion of the solvent bath on top, and we can prolong the life of these solvents so that we don't need to purchase new solvent more oftenly than before. And also we can have a solvent recovery technique in-house. Okay, so these are opportunities that we can look on. Okay, that is how we manage spent solvents as an environmental aspect by fulfilling compliance obligations and addressing risk and opportunities. And we have linked safety, health, and environment, of course, in a crude way. I'm not the expert in safety and health, but you could help. So that's about it. I hope it has given you some supplementary and complementary information for you to work on at a higher level. Thank you very much for your attention. Forgive me if I've missed out some details. I tried to make it short actually, but it has exceeded 30 minutes. I thought we could do it in 20 minutes. As a Muslim, in Bahasa, I pray to God all the best for all of you, and I do it in Bahasa Melayu. Semoga dikurniakan apa yang dihajat, dipohon dan dicita-cita, dipelihara daripada bala, bencana, musibah, penyakit serta maksiat, dan dikurniakan kesenangan, keselamatan, kesejahteraan, kebahagiaan, dan kejayaan kehidupan di dunia dan di akhirat. It's a mouthful of wish for you. And I say goodbye by wishing everybody until we meet in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.